Good evening, good afternoon, and for some, good night. Simple Jairos here. The purpose of the channel is just gonna be speaking my mind a lot, you know, just gonna say what I want to say, give tips and advice where I think may be needed. About the vlogging, I'm new to the game, just got my permit less than a month, I don't know, but just recently got it, never ridden anything, none like that. Fresh off the boat is the best way I could put it. And basically, you know, I've been interested in bikes since I was a kid, and you know, I almost got a motorcycle when I was like around 19, 20, but I didn't, for many reasons. Number one, you know, like, it's the mental battle. I mean, you really have to stay true to yourself. I've watched a lot of YouTubers that have given basically the similar kind of guidance. I mean, to be quite honest, man, like, if you want to ride a bike, you got to look, well, I looked at it like this. Riding a bike is not putting my life out there. Do I want to put my life out there at such a young age? That was my train of thought. And the answer to that for me personally was no. Just because at a young age, you're not well versed in just traffic in general. There's a few that do live out in the suburbs where there's not a lot of like traffic. See, I grew up in the cities all the time. And how I grew up in the cities, like, I seen an accident all the time, like in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And primarily, I grew up in what you guys would consider the hood. And, you know, a lot of people be gunning, you know? Speed limit is 20 miles an hour or whatever it may be. I don't even know why they put them signs, you know? Speed limit, how I knew it in the neighborhood, was about 40 to 50. So, like, just being around that constantly, you get that sense, you know? You get that rider sense where you start anticipating certain things that you once would. And now granted, those that do live out there like in the burbs or the country or whatever you want to say, I know you guys have to deal with deer and wildlife, and you know, I can't speak on that, but what we had to deal with were speeding cars, kids running out of the road to grab their basketball, their soccer ball, kids in the street playing football, you know, kids trying to pop wheelies on their bicycles or BMX bikes, and then it goes wrong and they have to roll into the street. I mean, that was like clockwork every single day, all the time. You know, and you know, so the first thing that I asked myself was, am I mentally ready to face the streets? Am I mentally ready to face the road? Yes, on videos of like how I was able to kind of get to where I'm at by myself and be able to afford the things that I can afford and live the life that I do live. I'm more than happy to share that information. But look, this person's texting. See this? Look at that. Oh, now they look up. But anyway, personally, if you live in America, you should have 4 wheels at least as your primary form of transportation, personally. And I don't know about like all the other states, but at least in Minnesota, before you can get a motorcycle license or like a motorcycle endorsement, you need to have a driver's license. So I'm pretty sure it's probably the same for most states. It's just like basically common sense, personally. Now, if you just want to live off a bike, by all means, go ahead. But I would say probably get in a car first, ride around for several years, and just kind of get a feel of all the crazy things that can actually happen. And for me, as I've been riding and I've been coming across a couple riders, most of them are truck drivers, and they have a lot of years on their back riding. And one thing that, just by talking to them, I could come to the conclusion that it's because of that constant mileage. Like, you know, they have so many miles on their back just being out on the road, which allows them to be that kind of defensive / offensive driver, you know. And when you're on a bike, you know, like when you're in cars, they tell you most times, hey, you need to be a defensive driver. When you're on a bike, what I've in my youth in my less than 1 month's experience thus far, I would say you need to be a defensive driver, defensive rider, but you need to be a defensive rider, but you need to be an offensive thinker. That's the best way that I can put it. And basically what I mean by that is you constantly need to be on the safe side, but at the same time, you need to be in the mindset as if everything and everyone is out there to get you. You know, like everything, you know, when you're on a bike, one thing you have to, hey, rider, go ahead, bro. When you're on a bike, one thing you just have to acknowledge is the fact that everything is against you. Everything. Every single thing. When I say everything, I mean before you even start your bike, the tire pressure is against you. The chain is against you. The shocks are against you. The bike itself is against you. Your body is against you. Are you tired? Are you well rested? Is your mind free from stress? I mean, everything is against you, and you have to prepare for all of that, you know. And then you hop on your bike. The next thing that's against you is, okay, did you use the bathroom? You got to take a piss, you know, you got to drop a number 2. I don't know, but basically you just constantly have to know that everything is working against you when you get on a bike. Everything. And then, you know, all those things that I just mentioned, we're not even out on the road yet, you know. So going to how I got into this whole riding thing. So yeah, I'm about a month in, just got my permit, have no riding history. The only amount of riding history that I have is playing video games, basically. That's how much I know about riding bikes, and that says a lot. The second thing that I want to stress, or that I told myself, is like, okay, fine, I've accepted the fact that everything is against me. I've accepted the fact that, you know, I have to constantly prepare every single day. Like literally, I'll tell you right now, if I haven't had 8-9 hours of sleep, I don't ride, period. If I haven't had healthy, like I prefer to ride in the morning, and I can kind of talk about the days and times that I like to ride, but it's all, I believe it's all state-based, because Minnesota folk tend to do and act and be on the streets certain ways at certain times. From all the years that I've just driven in general, you got to keep track of that. You got to know your own land, you know, that's big. But is you just have to keep your mind aware of just everything motorcycle before you even go. So like I said, I was interested at first. I almost got it in my, you know, early 20s, you know, late teens, but I said no, just because, like I said, I sat down with myself, I looked at myself. That's back when I was in college. I mean, I was partying like mad, and I was, you know, taking a lot of risks, just random risks, like, you know, like excitement risks. And just with that, I just told myself, I'm about to hop on basically a two-wheel death machine, and I'm willing to take the risks that I am taking right now. Jeez, lady. I'm willing to take the risks that I am right now at this age. What's to stop me from, you know, let's say I'm riding on a bike and I'm trying to impress someone, you know, see a pretty little thing right there, be like, all right, let me pop a wheelie or something like that, and boom, there you go. You know, so I spent more time mentally preparing, and then through that time, I did a lot of research. And that's the other big thing, is like, you really need to start doing a lot of research. You really need to start understanding. Go ahead, truck. I'm giving you way. You hit your blinker. I'm slowing down. Did you forget? So yeah, with everything motorcycle, like, understand how engine works. And in fact, that's another big thing, is like, you really need to understand how engines work. You really need to understand how transmissions work. A lot of people that come from cars, it's like dumb proof. for the most part. And now at a key where you kind of have to fiddle, find the hole, stick it in the hole, turn, and then the car starts. Now you just press on the brake and then push a button and boom, you know. That tells you R for reverse. You got some that tells you drive, and when you got to push the brakes, you just press the brakes and the computer does all the work for you. It'll figure out if one tire is more elevated than the other and all that fancy stuff. I am not a mechanic. I don't know jack squat about cars. I'm just saying, based on how long I've been driving and just driving in general, switching into a motorcycle, the more things that I have to think about. Like a car, if you're braking going downhill versus going uphill, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, in fact, I'll tell you, when I was riding, I stalled so many times on a hill. Just gonna sound funny, but I played a lot of Midnight Club, and my favorite vehicles to use were motorcycles. You know, even at a young age when I was using those motorcycles, I always, like, rode them, and I'd see how, and I really liked the game actually kind of showed, I mean, this is back in PS2 days, but I really like how it would show the crashes when they're happening, and the actual person would like fly off and topple over, and even like at low speeds, you kind of see how all these random crashes, and then like sometimes, it's real funny because sometimes you would just be riding along, and then all of a sudden, you just crash, you know? And probably back then we probably call it like a glitch or something like that. But honestly, in real life, that can happen. You can just be cruising along, you can get the tank splatter like they call it, or the wobble, or something could just cave, your chain could just pop if you're like on a sport bike or a bike with a chain. You know, I don't know. The things are endless. Like I said, I'm just starting out, 1 month in, and this is just my first month in, and I'm just sharing with you guys what's all out there. Over it mentally, you've stayed true to yourself, you've owned up your rights and your wrongs. The other thing is, man, you just gotta know that your time is gonna come. It's inevitable. Your time is on wood. I'm very grateful I haven't been in a car accident yet. Now, have I been just hop in the car and say, oh, I'm gonna be perfectly fine? No, every single day that I drive, I'm always like, yup, today's the day. And when I go to sleep and it's not the day, I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, yup, tomorrow's the day. And because I constantly have that, I'm always checking my surroundings like clockwork all the time. It's non-stop. So you've accepted the fact that, you know, it's gonna be you one day. You're gonna do your best to prevent it. I'm not saying, I'm not wishing anything bad on anyone, but like I said, I do it to myself every single time I put on my helmet and I put on my gloves. I tell myself, today's the day. And because I tell myself that, I go out there and I ride defensive and offensive. Because I know when I tell myself something like that and it actually happens, I'm not stressed. Like I told you so, I just didn't prepare enough. But sometimes it's just inevitable. So you've prepared a child, I got a baby girl, and you know, I think about that every single day. You know, like a lot of my family members are like, oh man, don't do it. My friends are like, don't do it. Think about your daughter, this and that. And if part of your decision making to ride a motorcycle, you would have thought about all of that. Now, if you didn't think about that, with all due respect, don't ride a bike. Don't get on a motorcycle. Don't even think about it. Please forget about it. Just don't get it to ride a motorcycle. For one, I've always been interested in riding a motorcycle. Always. It's always been an interest of mine. And one thing about me is, if I'm interested in something, I'm gonna do it until I feel like I've gotten my share of satisfaction. And it's not really just satisfaction for me. It's knowledge. I really, really like acquiring knowledge, and the best way that I know to acquire knowledge is hands-on. It's one thing for people to tell you so many things. It's another thing for you to say it from experience. You know, and